All right, guys, good morning. Today we're going to be working on a Google Doc. It's not going to take you too long, maybe about 25, 30 minutes, on the expansion of World War II. Okay, you guys know from the last couple of days, you guys did a good job. From those of you who have submitted it, World War II following the fall of France. Um, I'm on fifth period here, but it looks like we have about half of you guys have turned it in. Okay, so make sure the rest of you guys turn those in. They're not worth a lot of points. It's only 5 points, but it's part of your notes. And we are going to have a quiz next week on the first half of World War II. Okay, so make sure you guys have those submitted. Make sure you guys have the notes written down. Make sure you watch the Battle of Britain documentary. Okay, it's only about 45 minutes. And make sure that you guys are, keeping in mind the two questions that I had attached to that video. Okay. All right. Today's lesson is pretty straightforward. We're going to talk about how the war gets a whole lot bigger in 1941. Two very important things happen. You guys can see in the title, we have the invasion of the Soviet Union by Germany, or Operation Barbarossa, which you guys have already discussed in the uh, the assignment titled World War II following the fall of France. And today we're also going to take a little bit of a look at the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor as part of their plans to expand in the Pacific area. Okay. So two new countries are coming into the war on the Ally side, on Great Britain's side. That's going to be the Soviet Union, as you guys already know. And then very late in 1941, the United States finally joins the war. Even though we already were basically helping the Allied powers, we were giving weapons and supplies and raw materials to Great Britain and then later to the Soviet Union in their fight against Nazi Germany. Okay, so let's take a look at the doc so you guys know what you're doing. It's pretty simple. Okay, you guys have the task explained for you up here. It talks about how 1941 is a significant turning point in the long-term strategic outcome of the war. You guys are going to read the real quick link to the Operation Barbarossa. Okay, it's going to bring you to an Encyclopedia Britannica article. Okay, give me the relevant facts. Okay, why the invasion took place. Okay, when it took place, where it took place, all the good stuff. You guys are basically, that's up to you. Okay. The second one's the war in North Africa. Okay, it's going to bring you to the campaign in North Africa. All right, you guys are just going to read the background. Okay, don't read the whole thing. All I want you guys to do is read the introduction. Okay, it's going to give you a little bit of information about what's going on there. You guys remember from our discussion a couple days ago. Okay, it's going to take you a little bit of time to read through this. All right, we got Operation Torch. Okay, this is where the United States finally gets boots on the ground in what we could call the European theater. Okay. A lot of good visuals that you guys can kind of click through. You guys can see tank warfare on the desert. These are two British Crusader tanks here fighting against the Afrika Korps. You can see pictures of German tanks. Okay, here we have a German Tiger tank, which was a brand new tank in 1943. Okay, largely feared by the Allies because of how powerful it was. But the good thing was it took a lot of resources to build just one of these darn things. So the Germans wasted a lot of material building these things. So that was actually not all that good of an idea. You guys can see the other implements of mechanized warfare. You got half tracks that can go off terrain. Okay. Looks like we got some dude like reading a book or something. Probably eating lunch. Who knows what he's doing. All right, but you guys can see the desert just littered with the equipment of mechanized warfare. You got motorcycles, you got half tracks, you got all sorts of stuff that both the Germans and the British would have used, and the Americans, I should have said too, in this new style of warfare. Okay, what else do we got here? All sorts of good stuff. All right, you can see crappy Italian tanks. The Italians didn't fare too well in World War II, obviously. All right, anyway, so read through the North African campaign. Do the same thing that you did with with Operation Barbarossa. Give relevant facts, okay, what the outcome was, what the decisive results were. And then finally, in the Pacific theater, the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor. Okay, you guys are going to read through again a short Encyclopedia Britannica article. Okay, it's going to just walk you through really quickly. It gives you a little bit of a background about Japan's operations in China. If you guys remember, we already talked about Japan invading China before the war even started. You guys can see that Japan occupied a huge swaths of China during this period in history. Okay, so you guys are going to read through that. It's going to give you the background as to why Japan attacked Pearl Harbor. okay, what they were looking to achieve. All right. And then when you're done that, we're going to get into the two critical thinking questions. In what ways will the expansion of the war into Russia, Africa, and the Pacific impact the path of World War II? Okay. Remember, before this, the war was only being fought really in Europe. Okay. Where the Nazis were incredibly successful in expanding their territories at the expense of Poland and France. Okay. Now all of a sudden they're up against the Soviet Union. They're up against Great Britain. Now they're up against the United States as well. The Japanese have attacked a major industrial power in the United States of America. Okay, so what do we foresee on the horizon for the war as far as the war getting bigger, and what does that mean? Okay, what's probably going to play out here? Okay, and then finally, the biggest and probably most important question is how would the entry of the Soviet Union and the United States in the same year, 1941, how would the entry of those two countries on the Allied side impact the course of the war? What type of countries are these two nations? Okay, especially back then, why is why does that constitute a huge advantage for Great Britain and the Allies having these two countries on their side against Germany, Japan, and Italy? Take a look at a map of Germany, Japan, and Italy, and then take a look at a map of the British Empire, the Soviet Union, and the United States. You should be able to ascertain and figure out why this is a huge turning point, okay? All right, so pretty straightforward today. Okay, it's going to take you maybe about 35 minutes to read through all the links. It might take you 5 minutes to plug in your notes here, and it might take you maybe 2 or 3 minutes to jot down your critical thinking answers, okay? Remember, next week we do have a quiz, okay? The quiz is going to encompass everything that we've covered up to Operation Barbarossa and the attack on Pearl Harbor. We're going to get a little bit more into that on Monday, okay? So I would anticipate having a quiz on this on next Wednesday, okay? And for my CP classes, I would say next Tuesday, since you guys will rotate out on Monday, okay? All right, guys, good luck. Have at it. Should be easy, okay? It's interesting stuff to take a look at. I'm going to start splicing in more videos of movies and documentaries, okay? Just for some added enrichment, okay? They're not going to be required in any way, but just for, you guys are sitting at home, okay? Obviously, some of you guys are looking for stuff to do, okay? Learning more about World War II and, the events that really shape the world that we live in right now might be something you're interested in. Okay. All right, guys. So I will see you guys next week.